All right, let's dive into an idea that's, well, a little counterintuitive. We're going to talk about why the most boring, most overlooked businesses are often the secret to building some serious, long-term wealth. It's a concept that really flies in the face of everything you see in the headlines. And this quote it hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? We're all naturally drawn to the flashy companies, the ones building electric cars or launching rockets into space. They totally capture our imagination. But, as this points out, they often end up delivering just okay returns. The real magic, it seems, is happening somewhere else entirely. And that leads us straight into something we can call the glamour trap. It's this really powerful bias that makes us all focus on the spectacular, while the real opportunities might be hiding in plain sight. I mean, think about what dominates the news, right? Electric vehicles, the newest smartphones, private rocket launches, massive solar farms. It's all exciting, it feels futuristic, and it seems like the most obvious place to put your money. But this right here, this is the trap. So the crucial point, the big shift in thinking, is how we frame the question. The market obsesses over who's going to win the EV race. But you know what? A much smarter question is this. Who's providing the essential, kind of boring components, the specialty chemicals, the unique materials that every single one of those car makers needs, no matter who wins? And asking that smarter question leads us away from the spotlight and into the shadows. This is where we find the real winners, the companies that are the bedrock of modern industry, miles away from any headline. We're going to call this the invisible infrastructure. These are the companies making the boring but essential stuff. You know, the adhesives in your phone, the special coatings on a battery, the power transmission belts in a factory. They're the businesses that allow the glamorous industries to even exist in the first place. So what makes these boring businesses so incredibly powerful? Well, it really comes down to a few key things. First, their customers are sticky. It's a huge pain for them to switch suppliers. They also tend to serve lots of different industries, which gives them this amazing resilience. They provide stuff that is absolutely necessary, but really hard to make. And right now, with all the shifts in global supply chains, they are just perfectly positioned to benefit. Now, to make this all feel a bit more real, let's look at a fantastic case study, India's chemical sector. This industry is a perfect example of this boring brilliance at work. This industry has been on an absolute roller coaster. First, you had a golden run when China's environmental crackdown created this huge opportunity. Then came the post-pandemic sugar high, where demand just went wild and prices went through the roof. And of course, that led to a crash because everybody suddenly had way too much inventory. It's a classic boom and bust cycle. But here's the thing. That crash created a reset. The board's been wiped clean. The excess stuff is gone, and the smart companies aren't just trying to sell basic chemicals on the cheap anymore. Nope, they're focusing on high-margin, specialty niches, and on replacing products that used to be imported. That's where the real, lasting value is being built now. And the scale of this opportunity is just staggering. I mean, get this. We're looking at an industry that's projected to hit $1 trillion. This isn't some small niche play. It's a foundational, massive shift in the global economy. Okay, so that $1 trillion number is built by individual companies, right? So let's zoom in from that big picture and look at some specific niche champions. These are smaller companies that absolutely dominate their little corners of the world. First up, Control Print. They make the machines that stamp expiry dates on your groceries. Not glamorous at all, right? But check this out. Over 60% of their revenue is recurring. It comes from selling the inks and servicing the machines. It's an unbelievably stable business, and now they're cleverly expanding into related stuff like packaging and software. Or how about Pig's Transmission? They make power belts for farm equipment and factory machines. Again, a super technical, behind-the-scenes product. But they export to over 100 countries and have been really smart, focusing on the high-margin replacement market, where customers pay for quality and reliability, not just the rock-bottom price. And then you've got Steel Strips Wheels. They started with the most basic thing, steel wheels. But now they're climbing up the value chain. They're moving into higher-margin alloy wheels and even making critical parts for electric vehicles. This is a classic case of using a dominant spot in a boring product to pivot straight into the future of the industry. So how can you actually apply this kind of thinking? It's really about developing a new investment lens, one that helps you see past all the noise and headlines to spot these hidden winners. So how do you find these companies? The legendary investor Peter Lynch had a really simple, powerful roadmap, and it doesn't start with complicated spreadsheets. It starts with your own two eyes. Just observe the world around you. See a new product everywhere? That's your first clue. Then you confirm it. Are the stores always busy? Finally, you check the numbers to see if your hunch is backed by real growth. And then, and this is the hardest part, you have to be patient and let compounding do its thing. So, here's the main takeaway. The next huge winner, the next multi-bagger, probably isn't going to be on the cover of some magazine. It's more likely to be a business you walk past every single day without a second thought. So the real question is, what invisible infrastructure is hiding in plain sight in your daily life?